Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you along. Hello to everyone listening in audio-only mode. I'm going to do my very best. 2024 is the year of making this intro work for you, rather than me desperately questioning into the dark whether people can hear me. It's episode 202. We're digging into the failure stats for the Great Western. Actually, it's a news episode, but we are going to talk about failure stats for the Great Western a bit. There will be some digging into statistics. As much as we can with the ORR data portal, because there's a couple of tweets, but there's just another recent calamity on. Oh, you can see my cursor. Let's fix that. Another recent calamity on the Western on the Great Western Main Line with a points failure that I think, and then again another failure that managed to strike the Elizabeth line, Crossrail. So it just bad things happening. And of course, if I'm going to briefly get Big Face up, hello everyone. Of course, it's also later on there'll be the competition announcement for those of you who have sent your favourite bits. So there'll be competition time. Oh, I also need to illuminate my face more. There we go. Bleach my face out and make myself look a bit like a ghost. Yes, that should be fun. So stay tuned for that. If you're here for competition only, then have fun with that. So. Yes, so Matt Strachan put in a Matt Alex ST on Twitter, did an FOI request last November, which I'm not going to use the data from because I don't need it, but they put in a request for data, and so clearly people are curious about the problems, and it was interesting to compare basically some comparator data. I've gone a bit further and have looked a bit further back at this comparator data, and we'll have a bit of a deep dive in that, as well as going through a bit of the news that's been going on. So it's a relaxed news episode, a nice chatty news episode, everyone. Without further ado, welcome to tonight's Rail Natter. As the Intercity 225 fades away, we start, firstly, with some news. And the first news I want to talk about is, I'm going to go Big Face again because there's some very exciting news, which is in the latest PWI Journal. There'll be an episode on this news soon. That news is that... In fact, it's on the front because if I hold this up here and hold this here... Oh, what's that? The Institution for Rail Engineering. What an awesome sounding new name for the institution. Incredible. Who might have contributed to that name, having thought it up in the shower? Having been tasked with doing so by the woman who is ostensibly runs the PWI and is brilliant, and I have just unending time for her. If ever she listened to this, which I'm sure she never would because she's way too busy, Kate, you're brilliant. You are just the PWI owes you unending debts of gratitude, and I don't know how we're going to replace you, which is admittedly a problem, but that's another story. Kate tasked me onto this. And I had to think about not just a new name, but also why that name, a justification for that name. Having been a skeptic on changing the name of the institution for a long time, it is in fact Trainworms. You should have submitted it by email, and then you could have entered into the competition. A bit late now. So, do we not get the special music on this news? Oh yeah, the news episode with the special music. You're right, Michael C. Hi. I'll get on it. Anyway, so that's exciting. iRayleigh replaces the PWI. Yes, I was converted into being. Kate converted me. In fact, if people wonder if I changed my mind, I changed my mind quite a lot, and this is a good example of a massive thing that I was changed my mind on by someone who knows what they're talking about. I put a lot of thought into that, by which I mean rapidly thought of the name in the shower, put together slides, just a couple of slides to show graphically what that might look like, and the board bought into that. This has not come out of nowhere. There's been think about this for years, but it's been teetering a little bit and a bit in and out, a bit hokey cokey, and it needed something visual to just give the board a nudge, and I think I managed to do the trick. So this is exciting. Anyway, and they're talking about it. It's now officially public news. There's discussion of it. The new president is talking about it. What's in a name? PWI board proposes institution name change. It's exciting. Read about it in the journal, or tweet me and ask me questions about it, or we'll do an episode on it at some point. If you don't agree, I'll do my very best to convince you. So that's that news. We have to talk about some other news, though, sadly, which is the UK cannot do this. We're doing a very bad job of delivering Hinkley C. EDF were making a mess of the design, and it's been a pig. But it's impressive how much this pretty self-contained project is dragging its heels. Let's compare this to HS2 in terms of the cost escalation. It's a bigger cost escalation than HS2. Unfortunately, people feel like electricity is a more vital service than transport, despite, you could argue yes. I'd say they're the same. But anyway, lots of challenges, particularly if this delays beyond 2030, it screws up any potential for decarbonising Britain's electricity grid, which is a bit of a headache for all sorts of reasons. It taps into exactly the same problems of why we can't deliver big infrastructure. We stopped doing the thing. We had a big centralised body that coordinated doing the thing, which meant that we had a good pool of skills to do the thing, as well as supply chain capacity to deliver the thing. We then smashed that big centralised coordinator of intelligent client to pieces, privatised it. The privatised organisations did nothing. We therefore lost all those skills to the four winds, and now we can't do anything when we need to. So the lesson being, don't stop doing the thing, everyone. Keep doing the thing, whether that thing is building power stations or building railways or electrifying railways or so on and so on. Don't stop doing the thing that is obviously a necessary and vital thing to do. And we can't even do this. We're talking about electricity. We cannot even build motorway services, high-power EV chargers. The target that was set by the end of 2023 has been hopelessly missed. Good work. We can't even get the rubbish not a solution to work. So this is why we need to bypass the complex. This is a solution. It's such an obviously easier thing to do the big centralized mass transit improvements rather than trying to make everyone individually choose a better solution. It's just hopeless. This news is chaotic, by the way. I normally order it into some sort of narrative. I haven't done this time because I finished this about 2 minutes ago. It's been a hectic day. Hitachi are on strike. Hitachi rail workers are on strike. So not just the manufacturers, but also maintenance staff in depots. We might be seeing hits on... I love this Great Northeastern. This is Danny. Danny's great. This is a very good article, in fact. Danny has called LNER Great Northeastern. I would love it if it was still Great Northeastern Railway. I think GNER is a better name than LNER, but because you lose the London element, I think that's better. But what's quite interesting is this is a really good piece, by the way, over on Rail Business Daily, I think. Yes. Anyway, it rightly goes into some of the details of refutes some of the claims made by Hitachi. Hitachi have made a very low pay offer. The irony is they're saying, "Oh no, we've done a competitive pay offer" with the background of all the problems that are very publicly visible at Hitachi at the moment. Good piece actually by Danny, going into some of the debunking some of the details of the press release from Hitachi. Solidarity to those workers, the 300 or so Unite members and members of RMT who are on strike, who will be going on strike. So support those strikers. Look up any strike funds that you can support them with. This was fun, wasn't it? Does everyone remember when Jeremy Hunt, who is the Chancellor of the Exchequer of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, do you remember when he said, "Sorry, but you have to pay debt interest. Whether you call it spending or investment, money is money, and on this scale can only lead to tax rises"? Does this man understand anything about macroeconomics? That would be a vigorous no. He doesn't. He does not. This is funny because he got quoted a lot, and a lot of people schooled Jeremy Hunt, which is very nice, great. We owned him on Twitter, but I don't think it gets over the gravitas of the fundamental extent to which this is both incorrect and damaging. And we'll get to some numbers about why this is damaging later. Today we've had all this news of this stupid idea that there is headroom. You know what? I'm going to make my little face appear in the corner. Get me back in the corner. Hello, it's me in the corner. Spotlight, etc. This is baffling. Today we had this idea, this stupid idea of headroom to do tax, to reduce tax. That is not correct. And the idea that, it's numerically incorrect, but also the idea that there is any freedom of the finances for tax reductions when the whole country is it's collapsing into dust right now because we're not spending money on anything. Just absolutely shocking. Anyway, Tantu4, I now want a "Don't Stop Doing the Thing" as a motivational poster. I could make that into merch, couldn't I? Someone in the Discord server at me that, so I remember. Zoe Billingham here from IPPR North there's basically the government is advancing, rather quietly advancing, plans for a major loosening of council budget rules to allow them to sell assets en masse to avert a wave of bankruptcies. According to the IPPR, 75,000 council assets at an approximate asset value of £15 billion are estimated to have been sold already since 2010. £15 billion is nothing. That's just peanuts for a 14 year. That's about £1 billion a year, which is a rounding error in the national figures. Why are councils selling assets when the central government should just be giving them that money? Absolutely shocking. Just follow Zoe, keep an eye on this. But this is just absolutely. Zoe pointing out one-off capital receipts are no fix for ongoing public service delivery. Yeah, it's just baffling. We're selling stuff that makes it difficult to deliver the services and makes it more expensive. Things like, we're selling a building that we own to make a little bit of capital in order to pay off our debts. But what it means is that we're going to be paying we're going to be renting that building back and paying a facilities management company into infinity, which will cost a lot more than just borrowing the money from central government to pay the thing. Central government sucks in the UK right now, and unfortunately they have all the power. It's just baffling. Well, this tweet makes a nice pairing to the Jeremy Hunt tweet, because you can see that you can see the consequence of what he's suggesting. He's wondering why we are in debt up to our eyeballs. It's because we prioritise debt rather than investing to have the good thing that saves us money and creates value. We're not doing that. No, we're just going to sell everything, sell everything we possibly can, and then rent it back. And we wonder why the country is broke, which is obviously a subjective point in any case. Talking of the idiots in government, you're about to get targeted. Back in mid-January, Noel Dolphin of Fear and Fray was at a RIA parliamentary reception. Hugh clearly has a personal enthusiasm for rail. I never told the RailNet Patreon people about my chat with Hugh. I need to still do that, although the kind of times have moved on somewhat since then. Hugh Merriman clearly has a personal enthusiasm for rail, but he stated, this is funny, Hugh stated that we already have a rolling programme of rail electrification in England, which is very funny to say that with a straight face. That's a lie, Hugh. Hugh was also challenged on where the rail network enhancements pipeline is, which was promised 4 years ago. Hugh said that Network North has replaced the RNEP. Network North is just made up stuff. None of it's real. None of it's actually developed at all. It's just stuff that was made up in a hotel room by some Tory spads. So that's baffling. And Noel, who is a very high up in a major supplier to the rail industry, literally said, I can't be the only person who's given up trying to get the current government to deliver and is just waiting for a new government. That's a pretty damning state of affairs, to be honest. Let's talk about something positive. While I take a sip of ginger cordial. The University of Birmingham has got its new station at last, which is good news. We're pleased to have authorised its service. This is the ORR tweeting. Pleased to have authorised its service significant enhancements at University Railway Station in Birmingham ahead of their opening in the next few weeks. Well, it's opening in the next few weeks. I suppose the improvements are opening. The station's not actually opening. It's been open the whole time. Fair point. This is good. Good. Happy. It's taken a bit of time, but here it is. And what I quite like is, much as with Railnatter policy, as we've stated, of prioritising devolved cross-modal branding over modal branding, the branding is still, I'm very pleased to see, West Midlands branding. Has anyone, by the way, spotted any evidence of... by the way, I think they've done a nice job of the double arrow on this, although the red on red is... I think they could have gone for a white here. I think there's a bit of a lack of durability here. This is not the best choice of colour. They could have gone for a black or a white, actually, but certainly, yeah, going for the BR red is a bit of an ill choice on orange brickwork. Okay, but the West Midlands Transport logo is good. I like that. I continue to like the diamonds, and the branding continues to be that. Has anyone spotted a situation where? That's a good point. I've not put that in the news HST trains, partly because it's waffle. We'll maybe get there. Has anyone noticed any removal of West Midlands branding in any stations? Anyone at all? Hopefully not. So, talking about the UK being bad, and also the fact that these slides are in no order whatsoever. The Office of National Statistics here, when was this? January the 23rd. That's yesterday, pointing out that public sector net borrowing is £8.4 billion less than December 2022. We're borrowing less, so there's an enormous reduction in the amount we are borrowing, which is bad, folks. It's really bad that we're not borrowing this much, because we need to be borrowing right now to do all the things as we've been talking about. This is bad. We should not be reducing the amount we're borrowing. We should be increasing it so that we can deliver all the stuff. We should be front loading so that we can deliver all the infrastructure, so that then in the future we might not need to borrow as much because we'll have a functioning country. So this is bad. Relevant to this is a measure that popped up in January 2011, is the change in life expectancy since austerity bit. And we have had life expectancy has reduced to the same level as 2010 for women, and even further back for men. So what that means is, and a lot of that will be accounted for by suicide, unfortunately, among other things, we're dying quicker. This is a key measure of the health of a functioning country. And for it to go backwards indicates that the UK is in a really sorry state, and we are letting down the worst off in society. These two graphs are related. How much we're borrowing to invest and how much people are dying. That's early. That's related. Very depressing. Right, HS2. A few things on HS2. I've not put the fact that Labour have that Keir Starmer has explicitly abandoned doing anything about HS2, explicitly abandoned any continuation of HS2. I'm not going to talk about it because it's a lie, like everything he says. But also it's kind of table stakes moot at this point. Labour they're just doing what the Tories do, but they're saying they're going to do it more competently. We're kind of in that position. But Mark Harper here has stated that he is, as of a week ago, or a few days ago, he's lifting safeguarding from HS2 Phase 2A from the West Midlands to Crewe. It remains in place around Handsacre. Safeguarding is a planning tool used to protect the land needed for the HS2 scheme from potential conflicting development. Firstly, it's funny that he's doing that, because I don't believe he can until he has repealed the Act for Phase 2A. But even if he does lift safeguarding, what's funny is that they're currently still buying land for that bit of route. Money is still being spent on buying land for that route. And also, what's funny is the silver lining I've been told by a few senior rail industry people are like, well, we kind of like HS2, we've lost it, HS2 screwed up, they made it so expensive, blah, 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 but at least we have the land. We've got a corridor of land that we can use to build the railway in the future. No, we don't. This is why you fight for the thing. You fight hard to retain the thing that we've won. You don't roll over and say, oh, the IRP is actually good news, everyone, Andrew Haynes said. No, it isn't, Andrew. What it was is opening the door to allow it to be completely disintegrated, and now we're screwed. So good work, everyone, senior in the rail industry, really knocking it out of the park there. Talking of HS2, this is funny. Architects Journal here showing how a headline can not say anything and be very, very funny. Weston Williamson has put an HS2 viaduct design to the public vote. I'm going to audio describe what we're looking at here. We're looking at 3 identical rendered pictures of a guy in short shorts, denim short shorts, a little bit of a belly, and a t-shirt. To be honest, he looks kind of like I do. Wearing it with a really bizarrely large canvas rucksack, looking towards a structure. There's the 3 kind of phone-shaped pictures. They're not landscape. They're phone-shaped pictures here, which is particularly funny for a structure that is viewed in landscape and is very long and thin. The structure is a pretty standard-looking, if somewhat SketchUp angular viaduct over a field with some OLE visible. What's funny is they've used standard Neocril OLE rather than whatever the OLE is supposed to fancily look like an HS2. And it has sound barriers that are, in the first picture, a bit green. In the middle picture, kind of mirrored or possibly grey or blue. And in the third picture, brown. Ish. These pictures are discernibly identical, or rather they're indiscernible from each other apart from slight shaded colour difference. And anyone who looks at the bridge wanting to see a train go past will be disappointed they'll just hear a noise. This elevates the size of the bridge. The profile of the bridge is enormously greater because of this permanent kind of translucent sound barrier. And also, if you're a passenger, you just don't see anything on this nice elevated bridge that looks out upon some pleasant scenery. This stuff angers me because it's unbelievably stupid. The good thing about HS2 is that even if it was running at full tilt, you had 18 trains an hour, which is how many trains? That's 3 minutes between trains, right? So that's pretty okay. If you look at both directions, that's 36. So you got about a train every 2 minutes. You're not going to really notice. They're going to be pretty quiet. They're going to whiz past pretty quietly. They're high-speed trains. They don't make a lot of noise. People might have noticed if you kind of, unless you're living right next to it. This is rubbish. Get rid of this. Get rid of these sound barriers. This is where it's like the environmental side of things becomes a bit of a conflict in that it's like, really kind of, I don't know, I just despair. I don't really have words for this. It just feels really stupid to me. Like this, there are bridges with sound barriers and other high-speed lines as well, but this just exacerbates what feels like this is the whole of HS2 is either buried in a ditch or up in the air with these enormous blocking sound barriers. At the bare minimum, make them glass. At the bare minimum, make them transparent so that you can see through them. Anyway, very frustrating. It's not necessarily specifically because of NIMBYs. A lot of it's because of environmental protection and sound protection, trying to make sure that the sound level increases is by standard reduced as much as possible. So it's not actually specifically NIMBYs about this, because the NIMBYs is going to be more annoyed by this than if it was a thinner bridge. Let's move on from HS2 and its weird, hilarious architectural. Anyway, people have a choice. There's a competition. You can choose between these 3 completely boring looking slight colour shade differences. Peter Walker here reporting on documents that the Guardian has been seen. Ministers prioritise driving in England partly due to conspiracy theories. The DfT is run by quacks. This one made me laugh. I enjoy this very much. Someone pointing out there are not many sound barriers along motorways. There are a few here and there, but for the most part, yes. Bearing in mind that pretty much every high street or even a fairly busy residential street makes a lot more noise than the railway will. Yes, I think it's kind of stupid and there should be no sound barriers, frankly, but there we go. The DfT shifted to prioritising driving over cycling and walking in part due to worries about 15-minute cities based on conspiracy theories. Yes, DfT run by quacks. This is just just baffling. Baffling stuff, really. And that's really all I have to say about that. It's so depressing. We're going to have a think about this one, though. This is interesting. Trains, £2 billion to reopen Carmarthen to Bangor lines. Reopening lines that were shut in the 1960s and left large towns with direct rail link would cost £2 billion, Transport for Wales has said. This is looking at the coastal route, so not the Dragon Line. This is just looking at the coastal route, and I'm interested to see what we're going to maybe dig into this. If there's some documentation behind this, we'll maybe dig into this under the auspices of looking at the Dragon Line again and understanding, because if they're going to spend $2 billion, they might as well spend $4 or $5 billion and do it properly and build a proper Swiss style, a sort of Alpine north-south main line as discussed. Anyway, build the Dragon Line. I can understand and agree with why it's not a good idea to rely on the coastal route for that kind of north-south connectivity for all sorts of reasons. It doesn't mean it's not necessarily a good idea to join the gap between the line up to Pwllheli and connect that up to Caernarfon. That makes some sense. But the thing that's expensive, the element that's expensive here, is the Carmarthen Aberystwyth section. That's the bit that's really expensive because it's long, winding, and there's lots of stuff in the way. But the connection at the northern end, I think, is quite sensible. I think the Carmarthen Aberystwyth connection is better served by a reliable clock-face bus. Anyway, this was funny. So Novara Media were sent this fun thing by having some slides leaked. It wasn't me this time. Some slides leaked by Avanti West Coast to Novara, which is very funny because they said, roll up, get your free money here was the title. And yes, it was an ironic slide, sort of, but given the current circumstances, it's not really the right thing to be doing. Executives make, bear in mind this is Avanti, who are they're not performing very well, and it's pretty shocking this hasn't been brought into directly operated railways. DOHL. What are they called again? Holdings Limited. Yeah, DOHL. All managers meeting. So one of the managers there is a comrade, which is great. Presentation was given to the company's executive team, including the managing director. Get your free money. Yeah, the slide is not great. Let me go in. Let's see if I can Novara. There we go. Let's get this up. See if I can get this slide up because it's funny. Let's just get this down here. Roll up, get your free money here. Pretty painful. Do they want 100 compliance? No. Here's the fantastic thing. If we achieve those figures, they pay us some more money, which is ours to keep in the form of a performance-based fee. Oh, hooray. Marvellous. So this is basically just explaining. It's well worth reading through this. It's a good piece. Polly Smythe has gone through and done a good kind of write-up. It's pretty painful stuff, to be honest. Our industry not doing the best job of availing itself there, really. Ouch. What am I doing? Gareth in his signature pause before doing a good job pronouncing a Welsh name. Llinell Ddraig is the name of the was it Ddraig? The Dragon Line in Welsh. I do a pause, don't I, before I pronounce? I do it before I pronounce Serbian things as well. I had to edit out a load of pauses out of my Serbian Rail Journey episodes. Is the M-Bahn going to return? M-Bahn's returns? Oh dear. No, M-Bahn returns. Getting excitable with my... There, let's fix that. M-Bahn returns. The M-Bahn, the really bad suburban transport system that was in Berlin for a bit is somehow coming back, ? Very bizarre. The fraud project, pay attention to this because this will ring familiar. The project put forward by the city's new Conservative-led government, Berlin, don't change, is said to have sufficient political backing, and its backers say would help it achieve its goals to become net zero by 2045. Oh dear. Here's a low-cost guess for how much the railway would cost. Can be built in an unrealistic period of time. And it's a CDU thing, which means the CDU, the unreliable centre-right party. Local government proposal to revive 1980s M-Bahn described as energy hogging and vain fantasy project. This is a bit like, and also the fact that it's driverless is a big red flag. This is a bit like the Cambridgeshire Autonomous Metro type situation. Vanity project by a right-wing politician pretending to be doing the right thing, but actually it's just being proposed to delay, slow down any real investment. We talked about the M-Bahn briefly in my ancient video about gadget bands from a while back. So ancient it's still using Cabin Sketch as the font. Yeah, so you can learn a little bit about the M-Bahn from that, but the politics is more interesting than the technology, to be honest. The Metro cars, they are knackered. Tyne-Wear Metro, wonderful Metro cars. The performance at the end of last year, down only about 60% of Tyne-Wear Metro services arrived on time, which is the worst performance in the system's history. This is shocking. They've acknowledged that it's bad, but it's just, this is the 555s cannot come soon enough. Bless them, the Metro cars are knackered. They are struggling to hold themselves together. The sooner they are crunched into tin cans, the better, because they're causing problems. They are beyond life, but also the money's not being spent to maintain them because they're on like borrowed time, really. The 555s need to be entering service as quickly as possible. I'm not sure what the delay on getting the 555s actually into service is. Those vehicles are appearing in Gosforth Depot, which has now been complete. Congratulations to my former colleagues who put a lot of work into getting Gosford Depot completed. That's now done, so there'll be lots of 555s arriving. But this is this performance is really bad, and it's reducing ridership, which is as you'd expect. Michael C is saying similar thing down here with SWR's 455s. I suppose they're waiting for the fancy new Electrostars, right? Yeah. TXM has fallen over. Yes, rail plant giant TXM files administration notice. This is the biggest supplier of road rail vehicles to Network Rail. Obviously, it should just be part of Network Rail. There's no reason for this to be just have them all as Network Rail vehicles, which might end up happening, just as it did previously, because TXM used to be a thing called Hydrex, and Hydrex collapsed in on itself tactically just before Christmas construction period. So Network Rail ate it, basically bought it out, ran it as NDS plant, and then that firm had a management buyout in 2016 and became TXM. TXM has now filed a notice of intention to appoint an administrator. So what that means for the supply chain for delivering stuff, goodness knows. Oh yeah, they're right. You're right, Michael C. The fact the 701s are out of vented service has not made my news roster. I don't put everything in because otherwise these things end up massive. But sometimes I pick the things that I think are pertinent. Yeah, the Arterios, which is just a stupid name for the Aventras, which in fairness is a stupid name for the Electrostars, are in service, and they are way late, mostly because of tech issues, and it's really rather embarrassing. Is it harder sourcing 1500V equipment for Tyne-Wear? Not necessarily. Door Hanger 93, that's a Tyne-Wear Metro question. No, possibly it's difficult to find bits for the train, I suppose. But no, in terms of finding sourcing suppliers for stuff, no, it's okay. DC stuff is fiddly as hell. Stray current and all sorts of things are a big headache. But no, actually, it's okay. It's kind of okay. I was going to say it's standard across Europe, and the good thing about the TSIs is that most stuff is sort of standardized across the board. The company, let's see, latest accounts for TXM show the company had a turnover of 40 million, generating a pre-tax loss of 2 million while employing about 300 staff. So this is a bit of a problem, and it's this is what happens when you, as a railway, are not delivering anything. Pain. Talking of which, oh look, it's some brand new trains dumped in a siding because you guessed it, TransPennine are retiring one of their fleets, and here it is, ironically enough, parked up next to a bunch of Arterios. In fact, there's just enormous numbers of idling Arterios here. They've been built, but they don't work. They haven't got the software working properly, which I think is why they're in a debt. Which is ironic, because some of the original Electrostars did the same thing in the mid-90s. They just sat in a siding for ages and ages, months in fact, because the tech wouldn't work. When I talk about the problems that Derby has with building trains that work, this is not a new problem. What else? Anyway, so this is particularly uncomfortable. Here's 1Z13 Studios posting some interesting pictures from Longsight TMD. There's some interesting data that popped up. I don't particularly know why I pulled this one in. I just thought it was quite interesting. I'm still waiting on the full travel to work data from the census, but this is related to it. It's about public transport accessibility, and how many people can access. What the width of, basically the size of the 90-minute travel to work area by public transport only is. And you can sort of see some good, this is sort of common stuff, sort of the big urban areas you'd expect. It doesn't really necessarily tell us anything in graphic mode on its own. You've got these big sort of urban sprawl areas here and here. These, as you'd expect, these are the big cities. So they have the large reach, they have decent public transport. That's kind of, I think it's the data, the accessibility of the data. It's open data and open methods, so that's the interesting bit. You can access this data yourself and play with it. Big shout out to Doug Paulley, one of my co-collaborators in the campaign for level boarding, who has been pushing and championing and opposing the plans for putting in a footbridge instead of a level crossing, but that footbridge being inaccessible. I'm just going to put this out there. I think other than in extreme exceptions, we should be putting in every single footbridge we put in as new for level crossing, or in many cases far better, underpasses, should be accessible. Part of the reason why we should be making them underpasses and we should be putting more underpasses in, yes, it costs a bit more, but that's fine. Yes, it might involve you having to think about the engineering a little bit so it doesn't flood. That's also fine. It makes it accessible. And the reason why an underpass is easier is because you don't have to go as deep. You only have to go as deep as a person and a bit of structure. Whereas if you go up, you have to go over existing or potentially future OLE. So going down is a lot less egregious from an access perspective, because you don't need 200 meters of ramp to get to it. So what's interesting is that when they were challenged, Network Rail were challenged on this. It's a level crossing in Copmanthorpe, very near me, just south of York. In late November, Network Rail withdrew its plans to build a bridge. It just gave up on the whole idea after weeks after the end of an inquiry that had wasted, I think, about hundreds of thousands of pounds of public money, including £400,000 by Network Rail itself. It's a huge amount of money to just burn. That's multiple S&C units, or however you want to measure it. The plans would have seen a dangerous level crossing replaced by a footbridge that could only be reached by steps rather than ramps. Not acceptable. Network Rail said at the time that it would now take the opportunity to evaluate solutions and look again at the benefits of all options. Marvellous. Actually, that's not what they were doing at all. The reason they withdrew the plan to build the bridge is because Doug Paulley, and lots of the campaigners who are supporting him. Doug specifically has obtained, through a Freedom of Information Act, obtained a Department for Transport memo. This isn't really Network Rail's fault; it's a DFT thing. Network Rail is suggesting, although you can understand where we're going with this, Network Rail was concerned that the inquiry's report could create a damaging precedent that could halt its plans to build more inaccessible footbridges. This memo was prepared for Hugh and Mark, in the Secretary of State for Transport and the Rail Minister. This is basically this is Network Rail realising that if there's a precedent set in this instance that an accessible bridge was built, they might set a precedent that accessible bridges would have to be built elsewhere. To which my response would be, yes, correct. This is correct. Yes, build the bridges or build the underpasses to be accessible. It's interesting because this is happening. This is related to TransPennine route upgrade and is adjacent to work that I'm now working on. And it's like, wow, it cost us a lot more. And yeah, it's not really that I'm saying Network Rail as an individual organisation should be stumping up extra money. It's that government should be spending more overall on public transport and on investing in our public realm such that accessibility is built in from the start, it should be the rule, not the exception. So yeah. Another fun piece of news that popped up in the BBC, some classic local news fare here. £78 million motorway scheme makes no difference. This is fun. Motorway upgrades are pointless. This is fun because a load of local residents have had a load of disruption and a huge amount of money spent on a junction with the M6, I believe, and it has made. They've said it's made no difference to congestion, to noise, to traffic, and it's just been a load of disruption for nothing. It's a good way to spend 80 million quid, folks. Nice work. I wonder how many inaccessible, or rather accessible railway crossings you could build for £78 million. 40, probably around that number. Now, in the last bit of news, before we start talking about the Great Western, people use the train, shocker. Eurostar passenger numbers are back to pre-COVID levels. This surprises me given how hopeless the service has been. So I'm quite impressed that Eurostar have managed to get those passenger numbers back. Fair play. It's impressive stuff. Great success. They need to get rid of a lot of the security theatre to make it all work that bit smoother. And they also need to get rid of a load of shops in St Pancras so that you can actually get rid of a load of shops in St Pancras so you can have more space to process people, so that they don't have to spend so long queuing. St P is the major bottleneck on the whole system, by the way. Also, they need to open all their intermediate stations back up again. So, a sip of fluid because my throat's really dry after all that chatting. So, that's the last thing you needed to hear, wasn't it? It's alright, I nearly pressed the swear button. Instead of pressing the temporary mute button, which that sort of thing. Anyway, right, I digress. This is the ORR data portal, and there's loads of good stuff in here, and there's loads of stuff you can access and do stuff with. People are asking if Eleanor made the news. I haven't made my mind up on Eleanor. Eleanor seems Eleanor's just a muppet rather than a crazy character like old Miles behind us here. Actually, Miles, you've fallen over. Show the people your face. Don't be shy. I'm not sure about Eleanor yet. The St Pancras public piano has been cordoned off because shock horror someone was playing it and live streaming. Oh, crikey. Bleep, mute, same effect. Hannah, you're right, yes. Could I have done a loud beep while I was drinking? I don't know if it had a similar, I'm not sure. I don't think it has the same effect. Just deafens everyone. Right, ORR data portal. So you can go in here. In fact, I have a window so I can show you what it looks like. Here we go. There's loads of stuff in here. There's key statistics about the train operating companies. There's statistics about usage, stuff about passenger experience, rail cards. Oh, talking about rail cards. One of you who's emailed for the competition, by the way, your stuff about disabled person rail cards, very interesting. It's again, I think it's a case of stripping service away from disabled people by the rail industry, and it's absolutely appalling. I think I might do an episode on it. Performance, rail fares, health and safety. Key things that are quite interesting in here further down is stuff about infrastructure. So there's stuff about asset condition, for example, that's quite interesting. So you click in here and you get some of the information. Actually, they've shifted some of this around. So station stewardship measure, I don't know what that is. Light maintenance depot stewardship measure. There's better stuff in Network Rail's annual return, which I will dig into in a future episode. This is a far more interesting data set as well. But stuff that is interesting is some of the infrastructure statistical data of age of rolling stock by operator is fun. Infrastructure on the main line, stations on the main line, rolling stock. So there's some of this data. Rail emissions can be quite interesting. Some of the data that's there. Fine, good stuff. Performance is good because performance allows us to see. There's this whole section for P-coded cancellations, which is interesting. Passenger rail performance is interesting because you can start going into trains cancelled and why. And it's this data that we're going to be looking at here. We're going to start by looking some graphs. The ORR still haven't swapped the male monarch Tudor crown for the female monarch St Edward's crown in the ORR logo. You're right, they haven't swapped it out to the right round yet. Gareth, very well observed. Some graphs. What are we going to look at? We're going to look at some graphs. we're going to go through some graphs. These graphs are full and maximized in screen because I thought it was a good idea at the time. Hopefully it's still clear. Feel free to tell me things, shout at me if it isn't. We're going to do some scribbling as well. So here's a graph. This graph, forgive me for not having labeled the axes. This graph is delay minutes. This axis is delay minutes. This axis is the percentage of those delay minutes that are attributable to track. And this graph is the whole network, so all the delay minutes, and also this. So this thick line here is related to this. Let's clear the decks. The little bars here are the total delay minutes to give you a rough idea of when delay minutes are really bad. What's interesting, the big spike in delay minutes up to 1.8 million delay minutes per period. These are like. What are these? These are kind of they're 4-week periods, Network Rail 4-week periods, I think. So 2019-20 period 9 was a disaster. This is this one here. This is a real mess of a period. 18 million delay minutes. Golly, I wonder what happened then. So the spiky line, the dark spiky line here is the infrastructure. It's specifically track defects, and that does capture a variety of different things. Sorry, I sniff, that was horrible. What's interesting is there's a big spike here, which is notable, but the dotted line is the annual rolling average. So the reason why it starts a year into the data is because it's an annual rolling average. So you can see that it's a smoothed version of the line, that nice smooth line showing you that roughly across the whole network, around about 7 or 8% of total delay minutes are attributable to track. So there we go. That's the whole network picture. And this goes from period 1, 2019-20. So that is April 2019. And it runs up until period 10. It runs up until... I'm going to work out why. I am still running through to you. Sorry. YouTube being a bit weird. Tell me if I'm back, will you? I do apologise. Yes. So what's funny is that this is YouTube, not me, because I have 1 gigabyte internet in this house. Like, it's hilariously fast. Like, I will never use this bandwidth, and yet YouTube likes to throw a wobbly, which is incredibly frustrating. I'm so sorry. Someone in the chat say that you can hear me and it's all smooth and running fine. Anyway, so between 7 and 8% of the total delays are attributable to track. Let's jump forwards to an operator. Let's have a look at LNER. So these come out. These are by operator, not by like route. So we're going to have to look at operators to see, and you'll see for a couple of the operators where there's overlap for various reasons. So, but we're going to start by looking at LNER. And as you might expect, you'll get a spike on a day, or on a period rather, because of one or more failures in a period. So a period with a big spike is probably because there's been one or maybe a couple of big failures in that period that have caused all sorts of headaches. So for example, you can see there's a big failure in period 9, 2019-20, which is, I don't know, early 2020 possibly. I'm not entirely sure. Big fallovers in over successive periods through the early. I should have converted these periods into actual dates, but it's fine. I think you followed the point. We can go back a few months. So most recent. This stops. This stops in 2023-24 period 10, which is kind of quite recent actually, kind of nowish. You can see for LNER, I've kept the data in the background. The data in the background in grey is the whole network. The thick lines at the bottom are the delay minutes for LNER as a percentage of the whole network. You can see quite small, but you'd expect that because LNER don't actually run that many trains. The thin lines in the back, the thin lines is our all network data. So if I skip back, you can see it's kind of the all network data minus LNER now, by the way. And the thick line in red, LNER color, is the track defects for LNER. And you can see that the two dotted lines, I suppose, are probably the most relevant one, because where the dotted line is above the thin dot, the red dotted line is above the thin grey dotted line, LNER have more track defects than the rest of the network, or minutes resulting. And then it's the other way around for if you've got a reduction in those, this is the annual rolling average, of course, so there's a slight offset. But you can see basically that if you look at just the spiky lines, you can see that LNER is a bit of a mixed bag. It's sort of a big lump of worse than the rest of the network, and then more recently it's got better. So a bit of a mixed picture with a few dramatic and enormous spikes here through 2020, through kind of 20, that'd be through 2020, 2021. Okay, that's LNER. How about Avanti? Avanti's picture is, well, they have lots of spikes, kind of more regularly, in fact, but and actually generally they have more defects than average, or more delay minutes as a result of track defects than average, but nothing, kind of no obvious and dramatic spikes on this. B-Crossing is right to say you'd expect long distance services to have more track delays. So here's EMR, which has a bit more of a mix of service, although it's mostly long distance. It does have more local services as well. And you can see that they have an enormous number of delay minutes as a result of track defects through the kind of the overall kind of there's the COVID period really starting and kicking off. I've got sorry, I've got clearly picked up something from my daughter. I'm starting to get ill, which is good. It's a good job I'm not about to record another podcast with some friends. Also, what's interesting is this big spike here. Now, this is fun because if we jump to the next operator, you'll see they have the same spike. What is that operator? A GTR. And so you can see it's somewhere south of Bedford, probably even closer into London, and they're suffering from the same problem, which is quite interesting. I think that's quite an interesting consequence of the failure. GTR here, generally pretty similar to the national average, other than at this point where it had this gigantic spike. But otherwise, kind of generally, it's got a bit worse more recently, but it's nothing, not dramatically different to the rest of the UK. Now, last on our list, this is the whole of Great Western, so that includes all the little local lines. The kind of question here is, has GWR seen a dramatically larger number of track defects than the rest of the network? And I have to say, looking at this, yes, there has been a surge in those defect delay minutes more recently. By and large, you have to say that GWR has done very well for itself. It's actually generally had quite low track defects as a percentage, and it's only really started climbing through COVID. Part of the reason I wanted to put these up is to see when did network rail modernisation kind of start. It was like it's maybe 2 years ago, so it's kind of about the halfway mark, kind of in the line. So if we go back, so if we listen, go from about here onwards is network rail modernisation. Let's clear this and say from about here onwards. So about here, about here, about here, about here, about here. What I kind of want to see is if there's an obvious difference in the number of track defects from this point onwards, and it kind of looks like yes is the answer to this. So if we go to GWR, it has got worse. It has steadily got worse over time. The track defects, there has been a general worsening to the point where there's a slight improvement for a period, and then it's got dramatically bad at the end of the year. As lots of people are complaining. So this is, but then you compare back to LNER, where LNER had this extreme series of kind of failures from, and those, yeah. But there's generally been I'd say that if you look at the point, there's generally been a worsening on every single, it's less pronounced on the whole network. There's generally been a worsening in the number of track defects followed by kind of an improvement again. So the picture's less clear. So if we then, this horrible, messy graph, I know it's a real mess, GWR doesn't stand out as being a particular problem. The thin dashed line here is the dashed line here is the whole of the whole network. Is it the case that GWR are dramatically above that and have been for an obvious pronounced worsening? I don't know if it is actually. So I'm going to be very interested to have a look at the. This is only one very narrow window into it, But from this broad look at GWR delay minutes, it's not obvious there's a dramatic difference with GWR. I look forward to the investigation undertaken by ORRs coming up with, and coming up with answers on this one. But I'm not sure is the answer on this one. There's not an obvious, clear trend in GWR as opposed to there being, trends in some of the other operators. A trend certainly is there. What's quite pronounced is that GWR, of the operators that I picked, which is kind of similar long distance operators other than GTR, GWR has had the biggest worsening over the time period. This is as far back as the data goes for this data set, unfortunately, which is annoying because I'd love for this to be available further back. GWR has certainly had the biggest worsening, but it started in a really good place. Its delay minutes from track defects were much lower than for the rest of the network. I wonder if that's because there'd been lots of track renewals as part of Great Western electrification. I'm not sure the clear answer to that. Pete is going to say something very useful. I am absolutely positive. Pete Johnson is saying, hi Pete, by the way, need to take care with looking at proportion of total minutes down to one cause because it's affected by all the other causes going on. Plus doesn't allow for congestion impacts. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point. It does not allow for congestion impacts. This is a broad brush, but it was the easiest open accessible, and it's the same data set that was sent to our chum who did the FOI request at the start. This is not new data. That was basically just straight from the ORR data portal. So this is the best data we currently have to assess the problem. I look forward to the more detailed stuff that we don't see that's Network Rail side, and I wish the Network Rail side stuff was actually publicly accessible or more easily publicly accessible. So that's that. What have we learned from this? Well, nothing, because we have to talk about who's won the competition. What are the 10 people who have won something leading up to the Ready Reckoner, which I think is the grand prize. This is the good stuff. I'm excited about this one. So there we go. Let me just message the chums. Just wrapping. I'm live messaging the chums who I'm about to be on a podcast. It's all your favourite chums, by the way. Spoiler alert. So let's do this. Let's go big face for starters. I'm excited about this. I haven't got any. Wait a minute. I should have lined up some. Let's go big face, and I'm going to line up some drops here. Let's line up some drops. What do I want to say? I want to say, wait for it. This is a warning to audio-only people that a potential loud drop is about to go. There we go. I'm going to play that every time we're picking someone out of the hat. So let's do this. It's competition winner time. If you remember, the competition was for people to send in their favourite moments from Hannah. There will be another competition soon, don't worry. For those who forgot to enter, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to... This. Can you hear this? It's a hat. It's a Rail Natter hat, look, because it's got the Rail Natter. It's City APT. You can buy this online, GarethDennis.uk/merch. You can hear all the names in there, but who's going to win? Well, first of all, we need to have a thing that people are going to win, so I'm going to reach into my sack. Let's just... Can I... Am I going to detach this thing and try? I'm going to do it. There we go. So here's gas hand cam, desk cam. Here we go. So going into the sack. What am I going to get? I'm going to also. There we go. So you can hear me. So we're going in. In here is. Oh, this is horrifying. This looks like. Let's just go big face because that looks a bit like an endoscope. So. First thing that's going onto the list, the competition list, is edition 9 of the Track Fastening Systems book. They are. Edition 9 of the Track Fastening Systems book. Ooh. Who's going to win this? Who's going to win this? Let's see. So I'm rooting it around, and we have. There's two. I mean, there's two stuck to each other. We'll shove that in and wiggle it around in a second because these post-it notes. Ryan Watson, episode 162, hashtag not a metro. Episode 162, there you go. You have won Wait a minute. Where's my thing? There we go. You've won. Well done. So that's number one. The reason I've done it with Post-it notes is I stick them to the thing. See, so they're stuck to the thing, so I know what's going where. Let's. What's the next prize on offer? This I've never done this before. I've no idea what I'm doing. You know what? The next prize on offer, I'm going to dig it. I'm going to make this something fun. It's going to be this fresh with labels still attached, rather fancy looking Siemens. I wouldn't even describe it as a tote bag. It's a proper nice bag. It's got like a little sort of zippy thing, and it's very nice. Thanks Siemens for giving me this when I've been to one of your events. But I'm going to give it away to someone. I'm going to post it to them. Who's going to have won this? So let's have a route through. There we go. I'm not looking. I'm not actually looking at the thing. I was more just looking to make sure that I didn't stick multiple ones together. Who's won this time? Tim Hopker Blunt, episode 144. Abolish the Treasury. Look at that. There we go. Tim Hopker Blunt winning the Siemens bag. There we go. Who a big fan of all of the Abolish the Treasury emerging kind of episodes, but particular fan of that episode. So, here we go. Let's go through. Let's see what else we've got in here. Let's see if we can find something little but interesting. I've got some pin badges somewhere in here. So what are we doing? Let's have a little scratch around. Oh, what's this? What's this thing? Oh, okay. This is interesting. So we have a Borders Rail series of cards, nice cards, advertising the Borders Railway. Some of them are pictures, paintings, some of them are photographs. It's quite a nice little pack, that. Some nice gift cards, or some nice cards that you can send people. There are 6 in there, I think. Maybe more. I think that's quite nice. Who's going to win this? It's quite a nice gift. How many have we done? We've done 2 so far. So this is number 3. Let's just have a little wrinkle around. And here it is. It's Rigger on YouTube, episode 163. Forget beaching. There we go. So there's it's yours. Sticking the thing to the thing. Right. Okay. I'm going to go even smaller. What's the smallest little tidbit that I can source in here? Oh, well, I couldn't find anything small, but what I could find is an Aquarius coffee mug with a handle fitting. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go again. So who can we find here? Let's dig this out. I don't know whether this is good podcast content, but here we go. Oh my goodness. This is the point where you all start doing your we've created a new bartering system where all of you who've won these things can barter to pick the one that you actually won, because the winner of the Aquarius Cup, this is fun now because Aquarius, do they still exist? They're being absorbed into another company, so I think the name is going to exist for a decreasing amount of time. So this is historic. It's Gareth W. Whose favourite moment was the live episode, and indeed recording the live episode in episode 99. So big congratulations. Right, we're gonna get moving up now. So what is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Thing 5, Code of Procedure for Chemical Weed Killing. It's a BR document, Civil Engineering Handbook number 37. This is some of the good stuff. Episode what? No, December 1978. So there's some fun stuff in there, including an approved list of weed killers, which presumably are all highly toxic and could be used to murder people. Let's dig through here. What are we doing? You can hear me digging through, right? So if I go in here, this is Joseph Dean, episode 116, the new North South Wales mainline. It's got your name on it. There we go. This I'm enjoying myself anyway. How many is that? The trouble is I can't remember how many I've done. Someone keep count. How many have we done now? Right. So let's dig around in here. Here is a rather snazzy looking, they don't have the budget to buy these anymore, bloody hell. A rather snazzy looking Transport for the North notebook, untouched. Very, very fetching looking thing, made of recycled material by the look of it. The Transport for the North logo on it, with someone's name on it, and maybe even someone's name in it, because if you want me to, I can scribble a message in the front. Who's going to win this one? Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? It is... Mike W. Episode 11, way back to episode 11. Signaling with Melanie Osborne. There we go. Let's hit the button. That's quite good, isn't it? Let's dig around. Let's find the next little thing. Oh, this is fun. So I think these are pretty exclusive. The next thing that's going to be on the list is this. What is this little bag with a Zoomer written on it? So in a way, you're getting two prizes here. What is the thing? What is the actual thing that you get? You will get an Azuma keychain, which is very nice. I used this as my, not this specific one. I had another one that I used as my car key chain for a while, and it was incredibly aggravating and painful when it hit me. So this, who's going to win this nice thing? What number are we on, by the way? Was that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 7. This is thing 7. We've got a reduced number of things in here, but not that many. So who's it going to be? Number 7. Make sure I've only got one. Andrew W. Advice on getting into the rail industry. Many episodes, but there's a variety of episodes around the 150 mark that particularly we talked about getting into the industry. So an specific favourite moment, but basically all moments where Andrew W. particularly enjoys all moments where we've talked about how to get advice on how to get into the rail industry. So Andrew, congratulations. There's going to be a good one coming up now because it's another Transport for the North one. This is a little. I said this was going to be random. This is just a little key ring that says on it. Focus. Is it ever going to focus? Northern. It says. There we are. It says Northern Budget on it. There's a picture of the TFN area. So it's 2 TFN features in here. Northern Budget. So, who's going to win this little badge, little pin badge? I'm going in, and we've got Jet Fellows. Whose favourite moment was episode 192, going through the Salisbury rail crash report. So this is the second last thing now, I think, isn't it, that we're going to give away? So let's find out where it's going to be. Ooh. Oh, there is some good stuff in here, I'll tell you. What are we going to pick out? Oh yeah, there's a few things here for the next competition, because there's definitely some fun that we're going to have picking through the various bits and pieces. But no, I'm going to pick out this. So. This is actually quite a nice overall gift that someone's winning with this one, because this is allegedly £26.95 worth of book that I've bought and presumably expensed to myself at some point. There's also some obligatory fluff attached to it, which is good. So the person who gets this might think that they're winning, because this is a 2022, which is only 2 years ago. So this is who's going to get this one? Oh, let's have a dig around. Oh, right. Who's this? Ooh. So, the winner of the second up prize is Julian Roberts, whose favourite moment was the rage turn through the plan for drivers in episode 196. Oh my. Oh my goodness. Let's let Julian. Congratulations. Right, I've dragged this on for 10 minutes and there's a team waiting for me down the line. So, I don't want to pick that out quite yet. The last gift is, of course, the British Rail ideal decimal coinage reckoner, which is just a beautiful object. I think it's honestly just an absolutely beautiful, completely pointless in the modern era object. Incredibly beautiful. Who's going to win this? Who is going to win this? Oh, you know what? I should play the countdown theme tune, but I'll get a strike, so I'm not going to. Let's go with. Oh, you know what? I can, because have I got it here? The thing is, I don't think I've. Oh, I do. Look. Who's going to win it? There we go. There we go. Okay. I'm still rooting my hand around. Rooting around who's going to win the grand prize. I'm going to put this down here. The hat has been put to one side. I've opened this up. And the winner of the Ready Reckoner, beautiful Ready Reckoner, is Nucker, whose favourite moment was the end of episode 190, where we proposed the structure of the railways, because it was an optimistic episode. It was a happy episode. There we go, Nucker, episode 190. Your name is stuck to this. Look at that. Isn't it marvellous? Well, I had fun on doing that. I don't know. There's still a few. So those of you who have commiserations to those of you who didn't win anything, thank you so much for sending in your suggestions. They're wonderful. Those of you who are there, I have. Oh wait a minute! I didn't do a award show celebration for the prize. It's fine. To those of you who let me go get rid of my face. Yes, I'll be in touch for addresses, and if you want me to scribble on anything, or I'll be writing you all a little note anyway. I'm sure, but it's hopefully that was fun. Thanks for all of you who get involved. I enjoyed the competition there. Right, and we should draw this to a close. This is available in podcast land via all channels that you can usually listen to podcasts in. So thank you so much, and do drop a little note saying I enjoyed this or I didn't enjoy this. Moan about it. That's all good too. The usual plugs: patreon.com/GarethDennis, GarethDennis.co.uk/merch, and paypal.me/GarethDennis, as well as the Discord server, GarethDennis.co.uk/Discord. It's all the good stuff. As I said, the discussions of who's negotiating with who about getting hold of various things can start. Please let me know if they do end up exchanging hands because people start bargaining with each other. That's fine. Gareth and Nucker are already negotiating over reallocating the prize, the winning prize. So good stuff. Next week, episode 102, 203. I have to say 200 before episodes now. I'm not used to that. The long history of the Transpennine route upgrade. A snappy one. This. I'm not going to dig deep into the archives over this. I'm going to pick up the information that I have and can tell you about it, and we can get angry about the overall policy and why decisions were made the way they were. There's some fun stuff to talk about. That is next week. I'm going to go back. Big face. Everyone, that was chaos. Thanks so much for joining. I'm going to leave you all in peace and quiet. And jump over to a team who are currently waiting for me on Zencastr. I'm going to wave vigorously. Everyone, I've had so much fun. The prizes will be with you soon. I'm sure I shall go to the post office and deliver them. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you all next week. Cheerio! Cheerio!